Derek Carr ranked 26th, 26th out of 32 starting quarterbacks by CBS Sports. Oh man, it is power ranking season, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we have seen some horrific power rankings. This one is way up there as well. We have seen and reacted to rankings of having the Saints 30th as the 30th team in the NFL. We have seen rankings of the Saints being 27th in the NFL. And we've seen them 4th in the NFC South. And now we see Derek Carr 26th quarterback. This ranking is bananas. And we're not even doing a reaction video. We're not doing a reaction to a video. We're doing a reaction strictly to this power ranking because I have a sneaky feeling this could get long on its own. So this is, again, CBS Sports, the 32 starting quarterbacks, projected starting quarterbacks, according to Cody Benjamin. Controversial yet brave, the double first name. So let's look at the entire ranking, and then we'll go through this. All right, top 10. Mahomes, Purdy, Allen, Burrow, Stroud, Jackson, Hurts, Prescott, Herbert/Hebert, depending on who you ask, right? Jordan Love. And then we get the 11 through 32 with Rodgers, Tua, Goff, Cousins, Lawrence, Stafford, Watson, Geno, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Will Levis, Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson, J.J. McCarthy, Derek Carr at 26, Jacoby Brissett, Jaden Daniels, Gardner Minshew, Bo Nix, Bryce Young, and Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. So we're going to talk mostly about Carr's spot on this list. I'll talk a little bit about each quarterback or just kind of where I think they should be or the range or what have you. But the list is kind of wild to me because so let's think about the list. This list is what we think about these quarterbacks, where we would have them ranked going into this season. This list is not an accomplishment list. It's not who on this list has done the most in their career, who is the greatest. It's not that kind of list. It's also not a projected list. So it's not what we think these quarterbacks will do in 5 years or 6 years or any of that. It is going into this season. It's not who would you build a team around. It's not who would you rather have in a tie game with 2 minutes to go. It's none of that. It's strictly you got one season, who's the quarterback on the team, and rank them. So knowing that, I think some of this is kind of wild. To me, it's a 1 + 1 = 2 kind of thing. If y'all can hear the siren, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. New Orleans going to New Orleans. But it's kind of wild because some of these guys, like Russell Wilson has been horrific over the last couple of years. Horrific. But then you have Baker Mayfield, who was good last year. So why is Russell Wilson over Baker? If you're going to rank Baker highly, you probably should put him over Russell. Okay? And then you have the young guys. Okay, so you go Will Levis, 22, Caleb Williams, 23, which is kind of laughable. I don't think anybody would say they would rather have Will Levis than Caleb Williams. But you got young guys, right? Will Levis, Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson, J.J. McCarthy. But then, for some reason, you throw Jacoby Brissett in there over Jaden Daniels. So not only do you say, yeah, we think that J.J. McCarthy is better than Jaden Daniels. That's a statement, right? Because that's them saying, hey, we think y'all got this wrong. But they're also saying we think Jaden Daniels is so far removed from Caleb Williams and J.J. McCarthy that we're putting him under Jacoby Brissett. That's pretty wild right there. So when I first saw this list, I obviously thought 26 was low for Carr. And I do think 26 is low for Carr. But the question is, where would I rank him? Where would I put Derek Carr if 26 is low? So let's look at the top 10 first. So top 10, and we're not going to really talk about Brock Purdy being 2 versus 8 or whatever. But I think the top 10 is okay. The names, I don't know if I would not have Purdy 2. I would not have that. But I think the top 10 is okay for the most part. The ones that I would remove are Dak and Jordan Love. I would remove them, and I would put probably Stafford. The ones that would be close, Hurts might get removed too. But the ones that I think should be in the top 10, or at least in the conversation, are Stafford, Goff, and Rodgers. I think those are top 10 quarterbacks. And I might swap those 3 out for Hurts, Prescott, and Love. But if I did, it would like Hurts, Prescott, and Love would be 11, 12, 13. So, but that's the first thing I thought of with the top 10 versus who's not on there. So as the list is, Rodgers, Goff, Stafford, I think for sure go over Carr. Where I start to say Carr probably needs to be here is right in the 15 to 17 range. Trevor Lawrence, I'm pretty low on Trevor Lawrence, but I guess you could argue like he still has that time to grow. He still has that time to see some upside, whatever. If this is his breakout year, it could be a different story. So I'm okay with saying Trevor Lawrence over Carr, but I'm not okay saying Deshaun Watson over Carr. I'm not okay saying Geno over Carr. I'm not okay with Russell, Baker, Kyler, Levis, William. I'm not okay with any of them. So I would personally put Carr at probably 16. I think it's fine. And that has been in line with what I've said the entire time. Because if I'm looking at this list as basically an average, think of it as like an average. I have said, on average, Carr is going to be somewhere in between, an above average, average to above average. Average to above average to me is 16 to about 12. At Carr's high level is probably around 8. Absolute elite level final form Super Saiyan 3 Derek Carr, that's an MVP vote getting quarterback. We've seen that in the past, right? You can say that about a lot of quarterbacks. You can say that about Tua, you can say that about Stafford, you can say that even about Deshaun Watson. Like at his absolute final form Super Saiyan 3, at that form of Deshaun Watson, he's a top 5 quarterback. But I don't think we're going to see that form of Deshaun Watson again. So that's why I have Deshaun Watson low. Geno's had one good year in his career. One good year, and that's it. Baker, Baker's kind of interesting because a lot of people said Baker's year last year was incredible. And this kind of shows, this is just, again, winning solves everything. A lot of people said Baker's year last year was insane, really good, right? If you look at Baker last year, they go 9-8. He throws for 4,000 yards with 28 touchdowns and 10 picks. Then you look at Carr, who is 9-8, doesn't play in a half of 2 games, so it misses a game basically. And he throws for 130 less yards, and he has 25 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. Like these 2 seasons are very, very close. Very close. Very close. I mean, you look at these, it's like they're right there. They are pretty similar. I'm okay with saying Baker's is better, but you're talking about 4,000 yards, 28 and 10, 3,900 yards, 25 and 8. But it's funny how you can people look at this season from Carr and they're like, this season is horrific. This is one of the worst seasons of all time. Get him out of the league. Then you look at this season from Baker and it's like, oh, baby, Baker is back. Right? So it just shows you how winning, narrative, all that, how impactful it is. Will Levis is insane, being 22. Being over Caleb Williams is absolutely bananas. But if you look at what Levis did last year, in 9 games, 9 starts, he had 1,800 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4 picks. I'm not sure how that makes you the 22nd quarterback in the NFL. So that's wild. I think that one's crazy. Again, Russell, just nothing. I think you put if I was to rank these guys on the right side, I'd probably have like Bryce Young would be 32. Daniel Jones probably would be 31, possibly Bo Nix. Minshew's down there. Brissett would be down there. I'd have Daniels over McCarthy. I'd have Williams over Levis and Richardson. But that's how I'd rank them. I think it's crazy to put J.J. McCarthy over Derek Carr. I think it's crazy to put Will Levis over Derek Carr. As far as like young quarterbacks. I think it's crazy with Anthony Richardson. He played 4 games. Like Derek Carr, say what you want about Derek Carr, but he's got some sustained success. If you look at like Geno or somebody like that, it's like he had one good year. Carr had 1, 2, 3, 4. Carr had like four to 5 good years, like really good years, sustained success years, like solid years. 4-time Pro Bowler, 3rd MVP. He's thrown for, 21-8, 27-9. This is a really solid year right here. You're going 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. 25-8 is nothing to be ashamed of. 28-6 as his MVP or his 3rd in MVP voting year. 3,900 yards. They're not bad. So Carr, you've seen it with Carr. You've seen it. You haven't seen it with Mayfield. Even Mayfield's year last year, it's kind of just what Derek Carr is doing. So I don't think I think it's crazy to have them so separated. But it's wild, like the disrespect that the Saints are getting. I think it's like if they had Carr at 19, I wouldn't be making this video. But to put him at 26, that's wild. Wild. If a top power ranking list had Carr at, if a top whatever list had the Saints as the 21st team, I'd be like, okay, whatever. But to rank them 30th, it's like, guys, what the hell's going on here? And I've said it a million times. I think Carr and Cousins are very similar. I think Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins are very, very similar players. Very similar ceilings, very similar how they play, what you expect from them, all that stuff. And if I had Kirk at 14, which I'm not sure I would, but if I had him at 15, and like I said, if I had Carr at 16, that lines up with that. Like, I think they're the exact same player. Do I think Kirk Cousins at times can be a top 8 quarterback? Yeah. Do I think at times Kirk Cousins can be receiving MVP votes? Yes. On average, though, he's probably going to be right around here. It's just, I would definitely have Rodgers. But it's funny how this list works, too, because if you told me I was in the Super Bowl and it was a 2-minute warning or 2 minutes left and I had one drive to win the Super Bowl, I would take Rodgers over a high majority of this top 10. Rodgers might be like 3rd for me. It would probably be Mahomes, Burrow. It might be Mahomes, Burrow, and Rodgers. Like, if you had the season on the line, Super Bowl on the line, would you really want Dak Prescott leading your Super Bowl drive over Aaron Rodgers? Or even CJ Stroud? Or Josh Allen? Or Brock Purdy? I don't think I would. There's a lot of different ways you can go with this ranking. There's a lot of different ways you can go with something like this, with a quarterback ranking or any of that. Because if you're saying for the future, then yeah, obviously players like Geno, Russell, Stafford, Cousins, like they go way down the list. But that's obviously not what this is, because then the younger guys would be higher. But I would love to hear the reasoning for Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. 24 is whatever, but Will Levis being ranked higher than Caleb Williams, higher than some of these guys, and Will Levis has played, 9 games, 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I don't know. Crazy how far Trevor Lawrence has fallen, huh? Like last year, Trevor Lawrence, people were talking about him in the top 5. A lot of the consensus for Lawrence would have probably been 5, 6, or 7. And now he's dropped all the way to 15. Cutthroat league, man. Yeah, Dak, I think, is high. I think Hurts is still high. I would have Herbert. Jordan Love's high. I think Jordan Love was good last year. I'm not sure if he was top 10 good. But again, what's the difference between 10 and 13, And I do think there's tiers. I talked about this before. Like, think about the difference between Patrick Mahomes and Brock Purdy. On this list, it's 1, right? 1 ranking. But the tier, like Mahomes is so far away in a tier by himself that putting him on the same list with these other guys is a disgrace. So I look at it more like tiers. Mahomes is in his own tier. And then you have like your Burrow. You have like your Burrow, Jackson, Allen is probably like your second tier. And then you go with like Purdy, Stroud, Herbert is probably a tier. And then Hurts, Hurts, Prescott, Love, Tua, they're all kind of a tier. Rodgers, like I said, would be higher. So I would have Rodgers in the tier with like Stroud and Lamar. Goff would probably be in that tier too. But then the next tier would include Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence, Geno Smith, Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield, Derek Carr. Like that would all be lumped together. So if you're in the same tier and the tier encompasses 15 through 20, like it's all the same to me. So that's why I think Carr should probably be in the 16 range. Because he's probably the same as 14, 15, 16, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. Maybe 20. 14 to 20, I would say, are all the exact same quarterback. Like, they are interchangeable. Everything I said about Carr, you can say about Cousins. You can say about Lawrence. You can say about Geno. You can say about Watson. Right? Like, on average, they're 14 to 20. At their high level, they're a top 8 quarterback. At their absolute peak, they're an MVP vote-getting quarterback. And I think that's totally fine. You can win with that. You can absolutely win with Jared Goff. You can absolutely win with Matthew Stafford. It has been proven. You can absolutely win with Geno playing at the highest level. You can absolutely win with Kirk Cousins playing at the highest level. You can absolutely win with Derek Carr playing at the highest level. I can't say that about Will Levis. I can't say that about Anthony Richardson or J.J. McCarthy. I haven't seen it. I don't know what it is. I have no idea what that is. What is J.J. McCarthy's highest level? You know? Like Daniel Jones. Well, there isn't a higher level. Bryce Young, there isn't a higher level. Gardner Minshew, there isn't a higher level. Jacoby Brissett, there isn't a highest level. Their ceiling is like 22. Super Saiyan 3, peak, pinnacle, elite level, Sinsu Beans level Gardner Minshew is probably like 2022. Like there are and that's how quarterbacks are, because I always say this about Carr and quarterbacks in that tier is that you get those quarterbacks to be average to above average all the time as a baseline. That's what you expect from them all the time. Then some of the times you want them to be great. And then rarely, but they can do it, they can be elite. And then they come back to the mean. That's how I look at those quarterbacks. So like Carr, like I said, you pay for him to be 15. He can clip up. Like just like an audio level. Like think about it like an audio level. You pay him to be a certain line, certain foundation, which I'm saying is 15. He can push it every once in a while, and you can see him rising to like 8-ish. And then if everything's working, everything's rolling for a couple of games or a quarter or a drive or whatever, boom, he can be in that top 5 MVP vote getting kind of player. You look at someone like Patrick Mahomes. What's his base? What's his foundation? His foundation is elite. Patrick, you pay him $500 million, you pay him whatever he gets, you know, the ownership of the team, whatever it is, because he is elite almost all the time. If he goes into another gear, you know, he's on a different level. And then rarely, but every once in a while, you'll see him go into that like God mode. That's Patrick Mahomes. So there is a difference when you think about, because it gets misconstrued. Like with let's look at a player. Like with Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett cannot reach those peaks. He doesn't have it in him. He's not good enough. He doesn't have the talent. No hate, but every quarterback can't reach that level. So what is Jacoby Brissett's ceiling? What is his peak and valley? What does his flow look like? Every quarterback has that. So I don't want me putting Carr at 15. I don't want people to come back from that and say, Carr can be top 8. I think I agreed. I think at moments, at times, for games, for stretches, for weeks, for months possibly, he can play at that level. I I believe in ranges. I believe quarterbacks or any players really have ranges. Can Derek Carr for a couple of quarters be a top 5 quarterback? Yeah. Over the long haul? No. No, I don't think so. I don't think over the long haul, over the simulation, over thousands of seasons, if you did it over and over and over again, I don't think over the long haul he would fit into that Mahomes, Burrow, Jackson, kind of world. It is what it is. But I like him. I think you can win with him. And I'm very confident in my ranking. Top of my head, I'll do this real quick for y'all, and we'll end the video. All right, so real fast, we're going to do this. I wasn't planning on doing this. I'm just a knee-jerk reaction, my 32. So I have a tier list. So I have only the 32 quarterbacks on the list. So the rest of these guys don't count. So these are the starting projected, the same guys that were ranked on CBS's list. So we'll see how it goes. I have the tiers, kind of how I was talking about. S is basically just created for Patrick Mahomes. But I'll try and stick to the tier list and rank people within the list just so we can see a 32 from me. Okay, so this is a little treat from me to all of you. So let's go with Allen first. I'm gonna do the tier list first, and then we'll go back and re-rank them. Allen would be, he'd be A. He'd be in that A list. Burrow would be in the A list. Rodgers would probably be in the B. Geno would be C. Cousins C. Jones is probably E. E can be F basically, but Jones would be down there. Daniels would probably be down there. Carr would be C. Goff would be B. Hurts would probably be B. Lawrence, Tua, we'll put 2 in B for now, but we'll see how that goes. Bryce Young would be F. Williams, we'll put Daniels, Williams. Deshaun is probably down there. Levis down there. Stroud is in B. Bo Nix. Jordan Love is probably in B. Stafford's in B. Purdy is in B. Richardson, probably there. Russell, let's see, Dak. Kyler probably here. Herbert's probably top of B. Jacoby Brissett be down there. Minshew, Jackson's A. Let's see, he'd be C. Minshew, McCarthy. Okay. All right, so now this is a real quick how I would break the tiers out. E's the absolute bottom. All right, so let's go tier to tier now. I think the worst quarterback in the NFL is Bryce Young. Daniel Jones is right in front of him. You go up a tier. You start getting into the young guys, the unknown guys. Bo Nix is down there. Minshew's down there. Probably have Minshew ahead of McCarthy. Brissett probably behind Minshew. Wilson, Levis probably be there. Watson, Williams is ahead of Daniels. Watson might be ahead of Daniels. Richardson's ahead of Daniels. I'll put Wilson ahead of him for now. Wilson's all right. All right, that's how I'd have D. So D sounds bad, but it's a lot of unknown, right? Like Caleb Williams, I can't sit here and be like Caleb Williams is better than Kyler Murray or Trevor Lawrence. Like we just don't know. So there's a lot of unknown there. And then you have some guys like Russell and Deshaun who I think their better days have just passed them by. So that's how I'd have that ranked out. C, top of C, probably Trevor, Kirk, Carr, then Geno. Probably have Kyler ahead of Geno, Baker. Yeah, that's probably how I'd have this. Maybe Baker ahead of Geno. And be flip-flop. We'll do that for now. We'll do Geno there for now. We'll do Baker. We'll do Baker. Recency bias. He had a better season last year. So we'll do it that way. Then this list, I'd have Stafford up there. Rodgers. Goff might be the top of that list. I'll put Rodgers up. Rodgers, then Goff. Stafford can really let her rip. I'll put Stafford, then Goff. Hurts. Stroud probably needs to be. I'll put Stroud behind Rodgers, head of Stafford. I'll do it this way. Tua, Love, Purdy. All right, Herbert needs to be a little higher. Okay, then we'll go Purdy here. I like Tua. Okay, we'll do. All right, all right. I feel good about B. This is shooting from the hip here, ladies and gentlemen. And then A, we'll go Burrow, Jackson, Allen. All right, so let me just take a look at this. So then we have 1 Mahomes, 2 Burrow, 3 Jackson, 4 Allen, 5 Rodgers. It seems like I'm really high on Rodgers. 5 seems really high. We'll leave it for right now. 6 Stafford, 7 Stroud, 8 Goff, 9 Herbert. Hurts is 10. 11 Tua, 12 Purdy, 13 Love, 14 Prescott, 15 Lawrence, 16 Cousins, 17 Carr, 18 Murray, 19 Baker, 20 Geno, 21 Williams. Where they have it. All right. I'm cool with this list. I'm good with this. I'm cool with this. Yeah. And you can see how the tiers are. You can see how Carr is 17, but he's 15 on my list. And that seems about right. Or 15, like with tiers. Like the 15th best quarterback is the top of C tier. So Carr is like interchangeable with 15. So 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Exactly what I said. I said 14 to 20 are basically the same tier, and it just became 15 to 20. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah. I love this list. I mean, this is what it's all about. This is what life is all about right here, ladies and gentlemen. Where do you disagree? Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? I mean, I'm feeling good about this list. I think I'm pretty high on Rodgers. I think I'm probably higher than most on Rodgers. And I'm probably lower than most on Love. But the rest I love. No pun intended. I might be lower than most on Stroud. Where do they have Stroud? 5? Where do I have him? 1, 4, 5, 6, 7. So not really. Yeah, I think this is a great list. I think I'm really liking this top 32. I mean, just from shooting from the hip. If you told me Bryce Young's 32, Daniel Jones 31, Bo Nix 30. Yeah, I mean, I'm right there. This is a hell of a list. I'm proud of myself. I wasn't expecting to do it. I was almost thinking like, I don't know if I should do this because, you know, who the hell knows? I'm shooting from the hip here. I'm just letting it rip. But I mean, I like the tiers. I like the ranking inside the tiers. I like the overall ranking. Yeah, man, what a list. What a list. I like it a lot. I think Super Bowl probably ends at B. Like I think the C, I think as of right now, C and below probably can't take their team to a Super Bowl, but B and above can. I think they have the ability at the highest level. Not that I'm saying that I think these teams will. I think the Cowboys are going to be terrible this year. But I think at times, like, Dak was good enough, the Cowboys were good enough, they probably could have been a Super Bowl level team. I mean, you could argue last year they were good enough, they just kind of vomited all over themselves. Yeah, I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comments below. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you want, this is... Go to Tier Maker, search 2024-2025 NFL quarterback ranking list, and screenshot me your 32 and send it to me on Twitter. And I'll respond to the pictures. They got Rattler? Is that my boy Rattler? Put Rattler 1. Put Rattler number 1 there. So I like it. Love it. Good job. Good job, me. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Get on down in the comments below. Let me know what do you think about this top 32. And I will see you in the next video.